a Quasar card coming out of that random Trinum anniversary pack. So this is a Cosmo Blazar Dragon. So if you guys aren't familiar with astronomy at all, Blazars are hotter than Quasars, and this card is definitely. I wouldn't say it's hotter because the FTK potential with this card is not as strong as a shooting Quasar Dragon, but I think this card is still pretty good. So let's just jump right into it. So it's level 12 Wind Dragon type Synchro effect monster with 4,000 attack all across the board. The Synchro materials are 1 tuner Synchro monster plus 1 or more non-tuner Synchro monsters. So you can still do your random jumbo combo with 3 5s and Formula Synchron. You'll still draw a bunch of random cards from Formula Synchron. But let's just jump right into the effects because these effects are pretty significant. So the first of all of these effects can be used during either player's turn, and you can only activate one each. And it's also not once per turn. So if you manage to get 2 of these cards out on the board, oh my gosh, you're gonna have a heck of a good time because the effects are pretty good. So the first main bullet point is when your opponent activates a card or effect, you can manage this card until the end phase, negate that activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So your opponent attempts to activate their uni hangers, you can negate that crap and get that out of here, banishing this card ultimately, and then gaining it back later on, which is pretty good. It's akin to the Stardust Dragon. It's very similar to what it does. It's a good effect. Negating your opponent's card effects is pretty good, and your opponent's going to have a tough time getting over this without that. So, if your opponent would summon a monsters, you can banish this card until the end phase, negate the summon, and if you do, destroy that monsters. So, for example, I think this only will work with inherent summons like all special summoning prohibitors, but you can stop your opponent's normal summon, which is really interesting. We don't really have many cards that do that right now, other than the Solemn Brigade, and just straight up destroying the card before it even hits the board, or before it or after it hits the board. But nothing like this. But nothing like that. Nothing that's always reactively good. And the last effect is when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can banish this card until the end phase, negate that attack, and then end the battle phase. So, essentially. Your opponent attacks a weaker monster. Let's say you had like Doppel Warrior or something on the board, something incredibly weak, or like Formula Synchron, or not Formula Synchron because it kind of lasts on the board sometimes. You declare an attack, or your opponent declares an attack. You banish this card, negate that attack, and then your opponent is forced into main phase 2. That's a pretty good effect actually. It's not quite as significant as the other 2 effects, but I think it kind of rounds it out as being a pretty good card. It's kind of a Swiss Army knife of Synchro monsters. If you can manage to get this out, you're probably going to win the game because 1, it's 4,000 attack. Your opponent just can't casually run that over, and 2, it has the ability of stopping 1 or 2 things: your opponent's summons or your opponent's a card effect. So. But this card can be easily baited out with cards like Regeki, Darkhole, board clears, simple stuff like that. They could toss out like an Armageddon Knight, and if you negate it, you're kind of sad because you wasted your negate on an Armageddon Knight, and they can now go off. But this card is kind of very similar to Cyber Dragon Infinity in the terms of if you're not really wanting to bait it, you're going to be forced to bait it out. So. But anyway, guys, tell me what you guys think about this card in the comment section down below. I will see you in the next video. This has been Team MetaMorphos. I will be signing off. Later, guys.